Mangwanani malelepo vukenjani Kleklas Vanave Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, the news and current affairs show bringing you everything you need to know happening on the African continent and beyond. You are joined by Ashwin Berry on Friday the 8th of November. These are some of the stories we are looking at. Mozambique opposition stages biggest protests yet as police crack down. Reporters Without Borders urges Sahel States to sign declaration protecting journalists' right to information. And a new political alliance has adopted former Zambian President Edgar Lungu as their presidential candidate for the 2026 elections. We'll be talking about that story from Zambia and other stories from Zambia with Mike Sichula. Rorisang Mohojo is currently attending the inauguration of the new Botswana president, but she has sent her stories in from that country. And as usual, we'll keep you informed on the latest stories locally and internationally. My name is Ashwin Berry. This is Africa Good Morning. Top stories shortly.
Welcome to Namibia, where adventure meets tranquility. With Enjoy, you have access to a wide range of accommodations to suit every traveler's taste and budget. Experience the finest dining and hospitality Namibia has to offer. Booking your dream accommodation is just a few clicks away with Enjoy. Join thousands of happy travelers who have trusted Enjoy for their Namibian getaway. Your gateway to unforgettable Namibian adventures. Visit us today at enjoy.my.na.
Getting into our top stories, Mozambican police fired tear gas at protesters in the capital Maputo yesterday in the biggest demonstration yet against the long-ruling Frelimo party, which was declared the winner of a disputed election last month. Anger has mounted since election authorities said Frelimo had won the October 9 vote, extending its 49-year rule. Human rights groups say at least 18 people have been killed in the police crackdown on protests since then. The election was hotly contested, with many young people supporting independent candidate Venancio Mondlane, who says the vote was rigged and called for a week of protests culminating on Thursday. Civil society groups and Western observers also said the election was unfair and that results were altered. A Frelimo spokesperson did not respond to requests for comment. Now, the party has been accused of vote rigging in previous polls and has denied it, sparking smaller protests last year. Police were deployed in full force yesterday as large groups of mostly young men barricaded streets with burning tires and waved homemade signs in support of Mondlane. A Reuters witness saw a police officer firing a handgun in the direction of a crowd of protesters in a Maputo township. There has never been something like this in the country, said Adriano Novunga, director of Mozambique Center for Democracy and Human Rights. In our next story, Reporters Without Borders, RSF, is urging Sahel authorities to endorse a new declaration on press freedom and the right to information as violence against journalists in the region escalates. At the summit organized by UNESCO and the African Union in Addis Ababa between 6 and 9 November, RSF highlighted the alarming realities facing journalists across Burkina Faso, Mali, Chad, and Niger. Journalists in Burkina Faso, for instance, faced forced military recruitment, bringing them into dangerous front lines under coercion. In Mali, armed groups have increasingly targeted reporters, with investigative journalist Birama Toure still missing since 2016, believed to have been abducted due to his reporting on corruption, according to the Committee to Protect Journalists. RSF, meanwhile, in Chad, the 2021 killing of reporter Faliko Coulibaly amid political unrest highlighted the lethal risks journalists face in volatile regions. And in Niger, the detention of journalists for alleged national security threats, often without due process, has raised alarm over arbitrary arrests as tools for silencing the press. Further amplifying these concerns, RSF reports that regional newsrooms are frequently raided, with essential equipment seized and news outlets barred from operating. And Ghana's outgoing president Nana Akufo-Addo is facing a backlash on social media after he unveiled a statue of himself during a tour of the country's western region. The monument is intended to honor the development initiatives the president has overseen whilst in office, the region's minister Kwabena Okiere Dako Mensah says. But many Ghanaians have been mocking its installation outside a hospital in the city of Sekondi, seeing it as self-glorification. The people of the Western region deserve better than these self-serving displays, opposition MP Emmanuel Ama Kofi Boa posted on X. Akufo-Addo, who will be standing down in January after 2 terms in power, has boasted that he has fulfilled 80% of his promises to Ghanaians. He unveiled the monument prominently placed in front of Sekondi's Efia Nkwata Regional Hospital on Wednesday during his visit that has been dubbed Thank You Tour. At the ceremony, Dako Mensah, who oversees the Western region, highlighted several key projects initiated under the president. But the statue has sparked a wave of criticism, with some Ghanaians questioning its importance when several key projects remain incomplete. It would be admirable if the president had allowed posterity to recognize and appreciate his work, an ex-user posted. A section of the public is calling for the statue to be pulled down after the president leaves office. Those have been our top stories on Africa Good Morning. One president that left office after being voted out was Edgar Lungu, but it seems like he's received a new lifeline. That is in Zambia. We'll be getting into that story and more with Mike Sichula.
Irongo Med is a leading distributor, working in partnership with NewMed and WestMed to meet the comprehensive needs of the Namibian healthcare sector. As a partner pursuing sustainable global healthcare, we offer industry-leading medical solutions through our key focus areas, which include pharmaceuticals, orthopedics, ophthalmology, surgical devices and capital equipment, as well as a well-established scientific laboratory division. In healthcare, Irongo Med is committed to making a difference. What about you?
It's time to talk to our correspondent in Zambia, Mr. Mike Sichula. Mike Odibwanji.
Niribuino Muribwanji, Africa, good morning to our dear viewers.
Africa, good morning indeed. Now, newly formed Tonse Alliance has announced former President Edgar Lungu as its presidential candidate.
Yes, indeed. The announcement was made yesterday at a media press briefing by leader of the opposition, President Mr. Sean Tembo, who is the new spokesperson for the party. So actually, the Tonse Alliance is a newly formed alliance that is the barely days. And on their first day of unveiling, they did announce Mr. Edgar Lungu, the Zambia's 60th president, as their presidential candidate to challenge President Hakainde Hichilema in the 2026 general elections. Speaking after he was unveiled, Mr. Lungu accepted the invitation by the Tonse Alliance, and he did promise the Zambian people that he will not let them down if given a chance under the Tonse Alliance. And the spokesperson for the alliance, Sean Tembo, explained that the alliance is scheduled to sign an electoral pact which will ensure that all alliance member political parties benefit by fielding candidates under the umbrella of the Tonse Alliance at local government, parliamentary level, while having a single presidential candidate. The government has not issued a comment, the governing party, the UPND, has not issued a comment regarding the Tonse Alliance, but looking at previous alliances that are opposition-based, the government has usually not given them a smooth ride in terms of having registration, their paperwork done, and everything. So we are yet to see what government will say, and also if Mr. Lungu, the court is going to declare him eligible to contest the elections. If that happens, what happens?
All right. So, Mike, the Lusaka South Multi-Facility Economic Zone has secured a sizable investment.
Yes, the economic zone has secured an investment of about $130 million from 16 industries this year. So economic zone managing director Mizu Mosotisa says the investment is expected to create over 5,000 jobs over the next 3 years. And during yesterday again, President Hakainde Hichilema commissioned a steel plant.
All right, Mr. Sichula, are you still there with us?
Mr. Hichilema said that
All right, it seems like we have lost Mr. Max Sichula. I'm just going to go through the rest of his stories for him. The story he was currently on was that the Lusaka South Multi-Facility Economic Zone has secured an investment of $130 million from 16 industries this year. Economic Zone Managing Director Mwizam Steteka says the investment is expected to create over 5,000 jobs over the next 3 years. And speaking when he officially commissioned the plant, President Hakainde Hichilema said that the highly technologically advanced steel manufacturing plant is testament to how joint ventures between the citizens and foreign investors can work for the good of the economy. For some time now, the country has been heavily reliant on foreign imports of steel. However, with the commissioning of such a plant, the country is on course to be self-reliant and even manufacture for export, he said. On a sad note, 20-year-old Livingston man died while viewing a truck transporting a massive cold box on its way to the Solwezi. Police explained that the deceased Nelson Soko climbed onto the truck to gain a better view of an abnormal load ahead. As the convoy increased speed after passing the weighbridge, he jumped from the moving truck. Now, the impact of the fall caused internal injuries and he was pronounced dead upon arrival at Livingston Teaching Hospital. Now, the cold box unit, which is vital to mining operations and weighs 104 metric tons, along with 2 truck horses and self-steering axles, resulting in a gross vehicle mass of 224 metric tons, was in transit from Katima Mulilo border to Solwezi's Kansanshi mine in the northwestern province. And in Zambian sport, Chipolo Polo boys coach Avram Grant has explained why he left out Fashion Sakala from the squad to face Ivory Coast next week. Coach Avram Grant had in his preamble during the press conference held yesterday morning wished injured players, including Patson Daka, Edward Chilufya, skipper Lubambo Musonda, Miguel Chaiwa, and Fashion Sakala Jr. a quick recovery. He had a bad injury. I saw the injury. Personally, I have nothing against anybody. I like all the players. I love them even when they make mistakes, but I need to put them in their place when they make mistakes. I need to keep the harmony in the team. He had a bad injury and I really wish him all the best and I hope he will recover well and get back to normal life. These were the words of Zambian coach Avram Grant. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to swing back with the news stories from Botswana.
Neo Paints has established a 67-year Namibian legacy, creating personalized paint solutions that blend quality and innovation for the Namibian people. We pride ourselves in being a 100% Namibian-owned company, investing in our country and our people by employing and empowering true Namibians. With every brushstroke, Neo Paints commits to our quality guarantee and always delivering a coat of excellence. At Neo Paints, we always stay true to our country. We are as Namibian as you.
All right, these are the stories sent through by our Botswana correspondent Rory Sambo Hojwe, who is currently attending the inauguration. We're about to talk about Botswana will today witness the inauguration of newly elected President Advocate Duma Boko. Boko is the leader of Umbrella for Democratic Change that has defeated the ruling Botswana Democratic Party in the recent elections. Now, the heads of state and government from the Southern African Development Community region are expected to attend the inauguration of Boko, a human rights lawyer who has led the opposition in Botswana. Boko defeated Mokgweetsi Masisi of the Botswana Democratic Party, who has since conceded defeat. Boko's main challenge will be to address the problem of the economy that has led to higher unemployment rates as well as poverty. In the other of Rodisang's stories, a man who is accused of molesting 17 boys ranging in age from 9 to 17 years old is due in court next week. Human rights organizations have expressed deep concern over the increasing number of children falling victim to sexual abuse. Stepping Stones International emphasized that the organization is committed to ensuring that all legal procedures are followed to protect the rights of the children affected by this abuse. He said are fully aware of the situation and will ensure that all necessary actions are taken to uphold the rights of these children. Now, the case is expected to be before Mahlapaye Magistrate Court on the 12th of November 2024. Those have been the stories from Botswana. We're going to swing into the weather. In economic news, the amount of finance provided to developing countries to help them adapt to the impacts of climate change is far short of the $359 billion a year needed, even after the biggest annual increase yet. A UN report yesterday showed funding from the developed world hit $28 billion in 2022 after $6 billion as a rise, the most in any 1 year since the UN Paris deal in 2015 to try and limit the impacts of global warming. The annual UN Environment Programme report said. Now, countries are preparing to meet in Azerbaijan at COP29 from November 11 to 22 for the next round of climate talks in a year marked by extreme weather aggravated by climate change, including floods in Bangladesh as well as drought in Brazil. How much money richer countries agreed to send to developing countries to help them cope is expected to be central to the talks in Baku. Climate change is already devastating communities across the world, particularly the most poor and vulnerable. Raging storms are flattening homes, wildfires are wiping out forests, and land degradation and drought are degrading landscapes, UNEP Executive Director Inga Anderson said in a statement. That has been our economic news story. Let's swing over to the indicators. In sport news, the over-50s cricket team of Namibia is gearing up for a competitive showdown against South Africa and Zimbabwe in the over-50 Africa Cup 2024 series scheduled to take place in Windhoek from 17 to 21 November. Here is Sport Rap's Otis Daniels with more.
We're in the company of peers, so how are you doing?
I'm good, can't complain. Excited.
Yeah, so where do you come from and what do you do for a profession?
Originally from Zambia, but I've been living in Namibia since 1993, so Namibia is technically home. Yeah, it's my home now. I work in tourism.
You're in tourism. Okay. So tell me, when, where, and why did you start playing cricket?
Sure, when? I was crazy about sports as a kid.
Yes.
So I started hitting a cricket ball around when I was about 6, 7 years old. Stopped playing when I was about 19, and then a friend of mine who's also in the over-50s team, Louis, convinced me to come back about 10 years ago.
What kind of player are you?
I'm primarily a batter,
Yes.
batting all-rounder, so I bat and I bowl, but my main role in the team is as a batter.
Who would you say is your toughest opponent to date?
Toughest opener, what, in terms of bowling or
Whatever
toughest?
who gave you a hard time on the pitch?
It's hard to say. Look, I'd say in over-50s cricket, probably the hardest bowler that I've faced was Alan Dawson. He played for the South African team.
And he's still going. Will you be facing him in this
He's
series?
not. He was at the World Cup, and
Yes.
I played against him in the Africa Cup. But I think he might have stepped away because I know he's got a business in Cape Town. He obviously couldn't afford to be away, so he's not around this time. But yeah, expecting more of a spin-heavy attack this time because I think South Africa is preparing for Sri Lanka, and that they're obviously focusing more on having more spinners in the team than pace and seam bowlers. But Alan was definitely the hardest bowler I faced.
Personal highlight in your career?
Wow. Probably being the top scorer for the Namibian team at the World Cup.
In South
Could have-
Africa?
yeah, in South Africa.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good stuff. How much runs did you make?
Geez, good question. it wasn't a hell of a lot, but it was sufficient. But yeah, I got. They had sort of 2 player of the match things, so I got 2 player of the matches for those innings as well. It was a tough tour.
Yes. So how would you say did preparations go for this upcoming tournament?
Much better. We're a much stronger team, although I expect the same from Zimbabwe as well. I know they're bringing a very strong team, but the preparation has been much better. I think we have a much clearer idea in terms of roles and responsibilities in the team now, and there's been an influx of new younger players into the team, guys who've just newly turned 50. It's a gradual process. We're always chasing the curve in Namibia as opposed to somewhere like South Africa and England. I mean, to give you an idea, Surrey Cricket Club has got more over-50s players in one club than we've got in the whole country.
So tell me, where would you say is our secret weapon? Team Namibia's secret weapon. What would you say is
It's Namibian gears.
Namibian gears?
Yeah, you see the same thing with the national team. They punch way above their weight in terms of what they have, in terms of sort of depth of talent.
Yes.
What they have is what they work with is how they work with it.
Good stuff.
That's probably the big.
Thank you for staying with Africa. Good morning. Let's have a look at the highlights from the show. Mozambique opposition stages biggest protest yet as police crack down. Reporters Without Borders urges Sahel States to sign declaration protecting journalists' right to information. And developing world faces multi-billion climate adaptation cash gap, UN report says. DSTV2 at 5, GoTV 25, oneup2.com and Network Media Hub on YouTube is precisely where you can find us. From me, Ashwin, and the Africa Good Morning team, we'll see you next week. But prior to that, Sweraja Kanaka.